Hey there, I'm Sarah Johnson. I'm 28, living in Chicago and crushing it as a marketing executive. Life's going pretty well, except for one tiny issue. My blended family. It's a mess, especially when it comes to my stepsiblings, Emma and Mark. My dad remarried when I was 15, and let's just say it hasn't been smooth sailing since. So the other day, we had one of those family gatherings, and I could immediately tell something was off. Everyone was acting weird, whispering, exchanging glances, and I kept catching snippets of conversations like, "We've got to ask her," and "It's the only way." My mind started racing, wondering what the hell they were plotting this time. My brother Tom, who's always been tight with Emma and Mark, which drives me nuts, noticed me watching them. He came over casually. "Hey sis, how's it going?" "Fine," I replied, eyeing him suspiciously. "What's with all the secret talks?" He laughed it off. "Oh, just family stuff." "Yeah, right." I decided to play it cool and mingle, but I stayed on high alert. My stepmom Patricia cornered me by the snack table. "Sarah, dear, it's so lovely to see you. We don't get together enough." I forced a smile. "Yeah, work's been crazy." "Well, family should always come first," she said, giving me this intense look that made me super uncomfortable. I excused myself, needing a breather, and headed to the bathroom. On my way back, I overheard Emma talking to her husband James. "We have to tell them soon. They're getting suspicious." "I know, but what if she says no?" James replied. I froze. Were they talking about me? What the hell was going on? The rest of the night, I was watching everyone like a hawk. My dad was being extra nice, Mark kept trying to make conversation, and Emma looked like she was on the verge of tears the whole time. By the time I left, my head was spinning. I had this sinking feeling that something big was coming, and I wasn't going to like it. On my drive home, I called my best friend, Olivia. "Liv, you won't believe the weirdness I just experienced." "Spill it, girl. What happened?" I filled her in on all the bizarre behavior and hushed conversations. "Sounds fishy," she said. "Want me to do some digging?" "Nah, I got this, but thanks. I'll keep you posted." Little did I know, this was just the beginning. My family was sitting on a bombshell, and it was about to blow my world apart. Fast forward a week after that strange family gathering. Tom calls me up, sounding all serious. "Sarah, we need to have an important family discussion. Can you come to dinner at Dad and Patricia's?" I knew something was up, but I agreed, figuring I might as well face whatever this was head on. When I arrived, the tension was so thick you could cut it with a knife. Everyone was sitting around the dining room table, looking like they were at a funeral. "All right," I said, taking a seat. "What's this all about?" Emma immediately started crying. Through her sobs, she went on about her fertility issues and how James' family was pressuring them for grandkids. I was sympathetic, but still confused. What did this have to do with me? Then Mark dropped the bomb. "Sarah, we were hoping you'd consider being a surrogate for Emma and James." I nearly choked on my water. "Excuse me?" Tom jumped in, all excited. "Yeah, sis, it would be perfect. You're not seeing anyone right now, and it would mean so much to Emma." I was in shock. "Hold up. You want me to carry a baby for 9 months, go through labor, and then just hand it over? Are you all insane?" Patricia gave me her usual disappointed look. "Sarah, dear, it's for family. Surely you can make this sacrifice for your sister." "Stepsister," I corrected her, feeling my anger rising. "And no, I can't just put my life on hold for a year. What about my job? My social life? My body?" Emma was still sobbing. "Please, Sarah, you're our only hope. I've already told James' family you agreed." "You did what?" I was furious. "How could you volunteer me without even asking?" My dad finally spoke up. "Now, Sarah, let's not be hasty. This could bring our family closer together." I had a bitter laugh. Closer together? By using me as an incubator? No way. Then it hit me. Wait a minute, Tom, is this why you've been asking about my breakup with Mike? Were you waiting for me to be single so you could spring this on me? Tom looked guilty. "Well, we thought it might be easier if you weren't in a relationship." I stood up, pushing my chair back. "I can't believe this. You've all been plotting behind my back, manipulating me. And for what? So Emma can have a baby." "It's not just about the baby," James said quietly. "My family, they might cut me off if we don't have a child soon." "That sounds like a you problem," I snapped. "Not a me problem." Patricia, always one to try and guilt trip me, chimed in. "Sarah, Don't be selfish. Think of your sister's happiness. That was the last straw. Selfish. I shot back, my voice rising. You're the ones being selfish. Asking me to give up a year of my life, risk my health, and go through this for nothing. And you didn't even offer any compensation. Compensation? Emma looked horrified. But we're family. I grabbed my purse, shaking my head in disbelief. Family doesn't manipulate each other like this. I'm done. As I headed for the door, their voices followed me, begging me to reconsider. But I wasn't having any of it. I slammed the door behind me and drove off, my hands trembling on the steering wheel. The nerve of them. I felt so betrayed. One thing was certain. This wasn't over. Not by a long shot. After that disaster of a dinner, I needed space. I ignored all the calls and texts from my family for weeks. But something kept nagging at me. Why were they so desperate? There had to be more to this. I decided to dig deeper. I met up with Olivia at our favorite coffee shop. Liv, I can't shake this feeling. Something doesn't add up. Well, she said, pulling out her laptop, let's see what we can find. What do we know so far? We started with Emma and James. It didn't take long to uncover some dirt. Holy crap, I muttered, staring at the screen. They're drowning in debt. Look at these credit card statements. Olivia whistled, scrolling through the details. Designer clothes, fancy restaurants. They'd been living way beyond their means. But that was just the beginning. Through a friend of a friend at James's company, I learned that he was on thin ice at work. Rumors were swirling that he'd been cutting corners, maybe even cooking the books. No wonder they're so desperate for a baby, I said. They're trying to secure James's position in his family's company. Then came the real shocker. I decided to reach out to Alex, a friend of mine who worked at Dad's company. When I called, I kept it casual at first. Hey Alex, has anything seemed off with the company finances lately? There was a long pause before he responded. Sarah, I really shouldn't be telling you this, but yeah, there have been some irregularities. Money disappearing and reappearing, all linked to Tom's apartment. My stomach dropped. He's embezzling, isn't he? I can't say for sure, Alex said carefully, but it looks that way. I hung up, feeling sick. Liv, Tom's stealing from Dad's company. He must be in deep trouble to risk something like that. But why push so hard for me to be a surrogate? Olivia raised an eyebrow. Maybe he's trying to stay in your dad's good graces. If he helps Emma get a baby, your dad might be so grateful he won't dig too deep into the books. The more we dug, the worse it got. Turns out Mark wasn't innocent either. He and James had a failed business venture a few years back, and Mark still owed James a ton of money. So Mark's pushing for this surrogacy to get James off his back about the debt, I realized, disgusted by how tangled it all was. By the end of our investigation, I felt like I was going to be sick. My entire family had been lying and scheming, using me as a pawn in their twisted games. What are you going to do? Olivia asked. I stood up, my mind racing with a plan. I'm going to expose every last one of them. They want to play games. Fine. But they picked the wrong person to mess with. I pulled out my phone and sent a group text. Family meeting tomorrow. 7:00 p.m. Be there. It was time to end this, once and for all. They thought they could manipulate me. They had no idea what was coming. The next evening, I walked into my parents' house, a folder full of evidence in one hand and a heart full of determination. Everyone was already seated when I walked in, tension thick in the air. They looked nervous, exchanging glances, clearly unsure of what was coming. I stood in front of them, my voice steady. Thanks for coming. I've been thinking about your proposal. Emma perked up, hopeful. Does this mean you'll do it? I gave her a cold smile. Not exactly. See, I've been doing some digging, and I've made some interesting discoveries. I turned to Tom first. Let's start with you, big brother. Embezzling from Dad's company. Really? The color drained from Tom's face. What are you talking about? I pulled out the papers I'd gathered. I've got proof right here. Want me to show Dad? Dad stood up, shock spreading across his face. Tom, is this true? Tom stammered, trying to deny it, but his guilt was written all over his face. Next, I turned to Mark. And you, pushing for this surrogacy to get James off your back about that failed business debt? Classy move. Mark's eyes widened. How did you? I have my ways, I cut him off. Just like I know about Emma and James living beyond their means, racking up debt, and James's shady practices at work. Emma burst into tears while James looked like he wanted to sink into the floor. I faced Dad and Patricia. And you too. Willing to sacrifice my health and future just to keep this facade of a happy family going. Patricia opened her mouth to speak, but I raised my hand. I'm not finished. You all thought you could use me, manipulate me. Well, guess what? I'm done. Done with the lies, the schemes, all of it. The room erupted into chaos. Accusations flew, tears flowed, and years of pent-up resentment came crashing down. In the midst of it all, Dad approached me, looking devastated. Sarah, I had no idea about any of this. I'm so sorry. I softened just a little. Yeah, well, maybe pay more attention to what's happening in your own family next time. As the dust began to settle, I made my position clear. I'm cutting ties with all of you, except Dad, if he's willing to make amends. The rest of you, don't contact me again. I walked out of that house feeling lighter than I had in years. Over the next few months, I watched from a distance as my family's carefully constructed lies unraveled. Tom lost his job and faced legal trouble. Mark's reputation took a hit, and his career suffered. Emma and James's marriage crumbled under the strain. As for me, I threw myself into my work, earning the big promotion. I deepened my friendships with people like Olivia, who had supported me through everything. 6 months later, I heard some news that made me smile. James's company had gone bankrupt due to fraud, and he was facing charges. Emma, now broke and divorced, tried to reach out to me, but I ignored her calls. Staying in my new apartment in New York, where I'd moved for an amazing job opportunity, I realized something. Sometimes the family you choose is better than the one you're born into. I'd lost a toxic family, but I'd gained something far more valuable: self-respect and freedom. And you know what? I wouldn't have it any other way. The story's over, but I've got a question for you. If you were in my shoes, would you consider forgiving any of my family members? Emma's now divorced and struggling. Should I give her another chance, or was cutting ties completely the right move? Drop your thoughts in the comments below.